jumpa lagi di video reaction saya kali ini guys, oke? Semoga semua yang menonton video saya hari ini sehat selalu. Nah, kali ini saya mau tengok video tentang ini ya. Magnet Pemilu Indonesia 2024 menjadi headline news media internasional. Betul, sebab ini kan antara pemilu yang terbesar gitu kan. Jadi memang jadi sorotan pelbagai media internasional ini, Pemilu Indonesia 2024, oke? So, jangan lama-lama lagi, mari sama-sama tengok video ini. Let's go.
Overseas now, voting has begun in the world's biggest single-day election in Indonesia. More than 200 million people are eligible to cast a vote, and the country's presidency is up for grabs as the outgoing leader Joko Widodo hits his term limit after 10 years in power. Let's go to our Asia correspondent now, Stash Butler. They're calling this election a festival of democracy. How's it playing out?
More than 200 million of Indonesia's 270 million residents were eligible to vote in what was a mammoth exercise in logistics spanning 3 time zones. Voters chose a new president and vice president, as well as members of parliament and local
policies and continuing policies to do with Jokowi government and so on and so forth. It's also about democracy and the rule of law. There's great concern about a backsliding of that. Put that in perspective for us.
Absolutely, Haslinda. And you know, I have to say, it's been so exciting covering this election period.
Votes to choose their next president. Current Defence Minister Prabowo Subianto is the front-runner in the elections despite concerns over his human rights record and claims
also looking at the elections in Indonesia for us today is Philip Tal, our foreign editor, who's with me. And Philip, some results are starting to trickle in now in Indonesia, very early results. What can you tell us?
Well, they're pretty much confirming what the opinion polls have been saying in Indonesia over the past few weeks, putting Prabowo Subianto in the lead. These are from 3 different polling institutes that have come out with these results just in the last few minutes, basically. He's on 59.8%, almost 60%, which is pretty good for him, because if he gets that score, it means there won't be a runoff vote, which is what would happen if any candidate
have begun voting in the presidential polls. Current Defence Minister Prabowo Subianto is the front-runner in the elections despite concerns over his human rights record and claims of improper support from President Joko Widodo.
Well, let's zero in now on one of the signature policies of the outgoing President Joko Widodo, his push to move Indonesia further up the mineral sector's value chain. Our business editor,
Prabowo had a very dark, difficult and disturbing history. He's been a public figure, a household name in Indonesia for nearly 40 years because he was the head of the special forces in the Indonesian military. He married the daughter of the president.
Eligible voters will head to the polls in Indonesia on Wednesday in what is being billed as the world's biggest single-day election. The Southeast Asian nation, the world's 3rd largest electoral democracy.
The scene of 2 of the 20th century's epic slaughters may be on the verge of a return to army rule at the hands of its most notorious general. General Prabowo Subianto, a long-time U.S. protege,
presidential election. The world's 4th populous country is guaranteed to get a new leader after 10 years of government led by Joko Widodo. Voters.
Indonesia world biggest.
And now let's turn our
election.
attention to Indonesia, the biggest country in Southeast Asia, home to the biggest Muslim population in the world and the 4th most populated nation after India, China and the US. This behemoth is days away from the biggest election on the planet. On Wednesday, February 14th, Indonesia will go to
the first of 5 debates in the contest to become Indonesia's next leader is underway. Now, all 3 presidential candidates are battling it out on live TV right now in a bid to secure support from voters in the world's 3rd largest democracy. And we're showing you live images from the General Elections Commission office in central Jakarta.
Now moving on to Indonesia, where the race for the 2024 presidential election is well on the way. With current President Joko Widodo limited to 2 terms, the country will choose a new leader next February. Indonesia's Election Commission announced on Monday approval for all 3 presidential candidates: Prabowo Subianto, the current defense minister, Ganjar Pranowo, former Central Java governor, and Anies Baswedan, former governor of Jakarta.
The More than 200 million voters will pick their new leader on the 14th of February.
Indonesia holds the world's largest single-day elections. From dancing on TikTok to Korean pop culture, candidates have tried their best to woo young voters. Three contestants
In
are
less
neck
than
and neck
24
for the top
hours,
spot.
Indonesia will be electing its next president and new parliament, as campaigns now enter their final phase. Voting will start on Wednesday. More than 100 million Indonesians will
Our
head to the
largest
polls.
neighbour goes to the polls tomorrow in what will be the biggest single-day election in the world. The result in Indonesia will be closely followed here in Australia as a change of government in Jakarta matters in Canberra. It's one of the early races in an epic year for democracy, in which nearly half the world's population
single-day
will
vote is taking place now in Indonesia, with rain greeting early voters in today's general and presidential elections.
And counting still underway across Indonesia, but one presidential candidate is way out in front. That's according to unofficial results. Indonesian Defense Minister Prabowo Subianto is projected to pick up around 60% of the votes. Now remember, a candidate needs at least half the national vote and at least 20% of the vote in each province to avoid a runoff. The runner-up at this point is former Jakarta Governor Anies Baswedan with around 25%. That's followed by former Central Java Governor Ganjar Pranowo with 17%. Breaking it down by region, Mr. Prabowo leading in the majority of the states, but it's a neck-and-neck race between him and Mr. Anies in the capital of Jakarta. There has been no declaration of victory or defeat so far, not just yet. The Anies and Ganjar camps, they have urged supporters to wait for those official results, calling attention to alleged voting violations in the election process. Let's get back to our election centre in Jakarta. Wei Su has been scrutinising the results with experts and with our correspondents. Wei Su, it's over to you for more.
Thanks for that, Dawn. If there has been a surprise in these results at all, it is in the margin that Prabowo Subianto appears to be maintaining and in the refusal of his rivals to concede a single inch. And our reporters who have been in the field throughout this campaign, Chani Vavani, Saifullah Ismail and Olivia Marzuki. Chani, we start with you at the stadium rally for Prabowo Subianto supporters from the viewing party and its star.
Saya bersama Mas Gibran berpesan, menyampaikan, walaupun kita bersyukur, kita tidak boleh
Dinamika yang mewarnai pemilihan presiden terus menjadi sorotan dunia. Bahkan lembaga survei asing pun ikut meramaikan dengan mengadakan penelitian terkait siapa figur calon presiden dengan angka keterpilihan paling tinggi. Salah satunya dari Australia. Lembaga survei asal Australia Roy Morgan misalnya telah merilis penelitian terakhir mereka pada Jumat 9 Februari 2024. Survei yang diadakan pada Januari 2024 itu mengungkap calon presiden nomor urut 2, Prabowo Subianto, masih berada di posisi teratas. Dalam laporannya, Prabowo berada di posisi 46%, naik ke posisi kedua adalah Anies Baswedan yang mendapat dukungan 31%, di mana saat ini ia difavoritkan untuk maju ke putaran kedua jika Prabowo gagal mencapai mayoritas 50% plus 1. Di sisi lain, peluang calon PDIP Ganjar Pranowo berada di posisi terbawah dengan perolehan 23%. Direktur Roy Morgan Indonesia Ira Sukirman mengatakan Prabowo hampir mengamankan kursi kepresidenan pada putaran pertama pemilu. Ini terlihat dari tren dukungannya yang naik, di mana angka bulan Januari menunjukkan kenaikan 3% bila dibandingkan dengan Desember. Survei tersebut juga mengungkapkan bahwa keputusan Prabowo untuk memilih putra Presiden Joko Widodo Gibran Rakabuming Raka sebagai pasangan wakil presidennya pada akhir bulan Oktober adalah keputusan tepat. Ia mendapat lonjakan dukungan yang signifikan.
Oke guys, itulah dia videonya ini. Jadi ya memang jadi sorotan gitu ya, jadi headline news di pelbagai TV luar negeri ini ya, yang memberitakan tentang pemilu Indonesia lah. Memang jadi sorotan, apalagi memang pemilu yang besar gitu kan. luar biasa sekali. Semua media internasional itu menyoroti ya, sampai sekarang menyoroti itu kan Pemilu Indonesia 2024. Mantap. So, terima kasih banyak sebab kamu sudah menonton video ini. Jangan lupa macam biasa untuk support channel saya dengan subscribe, like video ini, dan jangan lupa untuk komen juga, oke? Terima kasih banyak dan kita jumpa lagi di video seterusnya. Assalamualaikum.